Tuesday, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. faced more tough questions on Capitol Hill. This time, it was over a proposal for steep budget cuts at his department. It was Kennedy's third congressional hearing appearance in just a week. He's been under fire from lawmakers over major funding cuts his department has already made as part of President Trump's effort to shrink the federal workforce. If passed, the new budget proposal for fiscal year 2026 would slash HHS discretionary funding by more than a quarter. NBC News politics reporter Megan Leibowitz joins us now with more of her reporting on this. So, Megan, seems like things got pretty heated during yesterday's hearing. Walk us through some of the highlights.
That's right. It got pretty contentious at times when Secretary Kennedy was testifying before lawmakers yesterday. Right off the bat, he faced several tough questions from lawmakers from both sides of the aisle, and they expressed their concerns about cuts. Some of the cuts had already happened as part of the Trump administration's efforts to cut down the size and the scale of the federal workforce and certain programs as well. And some of the questions as well were about some of these pretty steep budget cuts, too. So they devolved into arguments a few times. I want to take you to a moment that Senator Patty Murray, a Democrat, had with Secretary Kennedy, and take a listen to what happened when Senator Murray pressed Secretary Kennedy about whose decision it was to withhold certain child care and development-related funds. Take a listen.
I want to point out something, Senator. You presided here, I think, for 32 years. You presided over the destruction of the health of the American people.
Well,
Our people are now the sickest people in the world.
Seriously.
Because you have not done your job.
Seriously. That is an
What have you done about it? What have you done about the epidemic of chronic disease?
Mr. Secretary,
what have you done about the epidemic of chronic disease?
Seriously, Madam
Secretary,
Chairman.
I would ask you to hold back and let the senator ask the questions.
So a pretty tense moment there, as you heard, and after the subcommittee chair jumped in, Senator Murray was ultimately able to ask her question again about whose decision it was to withdraw those funds, and Secretary Kennedy answered that it was his department's decision to withdraw those funds, Stephen.
And Megan, as you alluded to, we actually saw some Senate Republicans pushing back on these proposals as well. Who was speaking out against these?
Yeah, that's right. There were a few key areas that Republicans had highlighted in some of their concerns that they expressed to the secretary about some of these cuts. One of those areas was about a program that would help low-income people with heating and cooling their homes. That's an area that Senator Collins highlighted as vital. Another area that saw some pushback was about cuts to the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. Now, that also hosts some mining research programs. That's an area that Senator Rounds highlighted as well in his questioning of Kennedy, talking about the cuts and the possibility that it would impact both his state and some national security. He said that those cuts could risk the U.S.'s ability to meet certain national security-related goals as they're related to mineral independence and supply chain resilience, Stephen.
That's fascinating to hear. A lot of people care a lot about that. And as we mentioned, this 2026 proposal would cut the discretionary funding by 26%. Do we know which departments and programs are expected to be the hardest hit?
Yeah, 26%. So there are about a dozen programs within HHS that could see some of these steep cuts. But by far the biggest one that would see cuts would be the National Institutes of Health. That would see about an $18 billion cut to its discretionary budget. And that's an area that a few senators brought up as well, highlighting the work that the Institute does. Now, the Institute does a lot of research as it relates to looking at certain healthcare issues and potential treatment. So it's an area that is proving to be an area where there's some pushback from lawmakers as well.
It's a familiar sight now to see Kennedy there taking those questions from these lawmakers. Megan, thanks so much for your reporting.